In today's video, we're going to be doing a few things on the new MIATA. We got our new updated NB wheels, I believe these are. They're the 15s, not the 16s that I think they had later on. So this is going to be our temporary setup until we get our new wheels and tires. This is going to look so much better than the stock Steelies. These are super base model, really ugly. So I figured we'll go ahead and throw these on there for a little bit until we get that all situated, since we have to figure out a few different things that you guys will see later on down the line. As you probably already know by the title of this video, we are going to be adding a 12-inch subwoofer to this thing, which I don't know if it's ever been done. I'm pretty sure some people have done 12 inches. Most people do, I think, 10s, and I know that some people do 8s in that same pocket where we put the other two speakers in the back there, but I figured it's not going to be very good if we just have door speakers and then some subs. I probably should have gone with the 10-inch, but I decided to go with the 12 because it was literally like $2 extra, which I did get a pretty cheap setup, but I figured it'll work. It'll be plenty good for what I'm using it for. This is also kind of my first audio upgrade for anything, so I kind of want to just do it on the cheap, do it super budget, and use products that have good ratings but are definitely on the cheaper end. We have this MDF here. This is 3/4 inch, and so this is what we're going to be building our speaker box out of. We're going to be building a box that's going to take up the majority of the trunk in this MIATA. I'm not really that concerned because we have all of that space behind the headrest, just because we took out the soft top, so I really don't need a ton of space. I'm never really carrying anything. We might do a better, unique solution later down the line, but for now we're just doing a basic box that's going to be as big as the woofer needs. First thing is to change out these wheels, get these things swapped on, see how this thing looks. So I just got the sub in, and I did a little bit final measuring. I got the specs on what they want for a sub box size. I know there's so many different things and so many different requirements on what they want as far as how deep they want it away from the back of the sub. I'm not really going to focus too much on all of this. As long as the inside airspace is bigger or the same size as what they recommend, I think I'm going to be okay. So I did shorten up what I wanted to do originally. I have all of my measurements, and essentially for ease of installment for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it basically from here to here, all the way across here, and I'm going to make it just wide enough so that way it can go on this rail here and this rail here. That way I can just do some L brackets quickly into here and not try and fool around with doing anything crazy inside here or whatever. So it's going to sit on top of this, and then it's going to sit up about 8 inches. So this is the box we're going to be running. This is essentially the bottom side. We are using 2 pieces for the top where the sub is going to mount. I read a couple of forums and stuff like that, and I think this is what people do. This is just what one of them said to do. Just that way it basically can support everything, and I figured there's really no reason to. This thing is already going to weigh a ton, so that's probably one major reason why people don't put these things in their MIATA, because this thing's probably going to weigh 50-60 pounds by the time it's done with everything in it. I'll weigh it maybe later down the line, but this is definitely not going to be the lightest thing in the world. It's definitely going to be heavier than the spare tire and everything like that, so there's definitely no compensating it. So now that we have this, I'm going to start assembling it. I'm going to assemble this base here with wood glue, and then from there we will silicone all of the edges, and then from there we'll finish off this top. I'm going to wood glue it to each other. From there we're going to cut out a hole for a sub, and then once that's good, then we can set it in here nice and perfect, and then we can screw it into there, and then we'll silicone it from the backside through the sub hole, and from there we should have a completed sub box. So it's now the next day. We allowed this entire thing to dry, the wood glue holding together, and then all of the sealant. This box is honestly pretty bad looking right now, but I'm sure once we do a little bit of sanding and cover it with felt, it'll look so much better. But we're not going to be doing that in today's video. I really want to just assemble this thing and then throw it in the car and make sure everything is working. First thing, now that this thing is dry, I'm going to set it in the car just so you guys can see how big this thing is, one. And we can also see how small the trunk of the MIATA is, and just kind of see how the fitment is. And also I did go ahead and I wired up all of the stuff to the back. So basically everything for the radio and all the signals for that is already wired. The only thing we have to do is do the power cable and the ground cable, and then everything else is just kind of going to be hooking it up to the amp once the amp is installed. So it basically takes up the entire trunk. With the addition of this new head unit, the speakers in the back, and then the sub, this audio system is such an upgrade from the stock. Obviously, most people aren't going to be interested in doing the sub, mainly because that adds a ton of weight, probably around 50 pounds or so. As for the additional speakers, I highly recommend that at the very least. You could always go up a little bit bigger speaker. I'm not sure how much bigger you could go. This being the first time that I've ever added a sub to a car, I'm super happy with the install. It was incredibly easy. Basically, with the amp settings and everything, that was the one thing that I kind of really didn't know what I was doing. I basically just messed around with it for a little bit, found out what I wanted to do with it, what worked best with the rest of the system here, and basically I have it tuned to what I think sounds best. I would play some music for you guys, but I don't want to get copyrighted. I know nowadays on YouTube, you play the smallest amount of music, you'll get copyrighted, so I'm really not trying to do that. But just know that it works good, and it only vibrates the trunk a little bit. Honestly, if I were to tighten down the latch system for the trunk, that's the only thing that vibrates a lot. Other than that, you can't even hear it inside, so I really don't care all that much. I've driven it around maybe like 20 minutes or so, just completely blasting it. I know you're not supposed to turn it up all the way. I think there's some break-in period with the sub. I really don't care. The sub was so damn cheap. It was like $30 or something like that, so if it does break, whatever, I'll get a new one. Not that big of a deal. Well, that's about it for the installation of the sub. Overall, super easy, highly recommend. Maybe not in a MIATA where you want to try and lose weight so you're a little bit faster, but in any other car, super easy. This was my first time doing it, and honestly, the whole wiring is the easiest part. The only difficult part is building the box and then trying to, you know, get all that stuff to line up. I know the box looks like complete garbage, but once we get them felt on there, it'll look perfectly fine. Anyways, guys, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and peace out.